Good morning, Sam. It is Monday, December 26, 2022. Merry Christmas if you celebrate Christmas. Otherwise, I hope you had a good weekend. I am here today to talk about the sequel to one of my favorite films ever produced, Knives Out. If you haven't seen Knives Out, you should watch Knives Out. It is great. Directed by Rian Johnson. It came out in 2019. And Knives Out is one of those great movies that kind of slipped under my radar initially when it came out. I heard people say, this movie's good. And I didn't have a chance to see it until it came out on streaming. And so during the pandemic, I remember watching it for the first time and just being absolutely and completely blown away. I love murder mysteries, but I didn't really know that until I saw this movie. The way that Rian Johnson weaves the plot of Knives Out is impeccable. It is beautiful. He talks about how this is the film that he's always wanted to make, and it spent a decade writing this thing, and you can tell it's kind of impeccably produced and put together, and the way the narrative weaves through the story is just gorgeous. It really and truly is beautiful. Genuinely, this is one of my favorite films ever made. The acting is great, the storytelling is great. I get giddy when I watch it. To this day, when I watch Knives Out, and I've seen it many times, I still get giddy at the end scene when Daniel Craig delivers his denouement to the group of people. The whole speech about the donut and the donut hole is amazing.
I spoke in the car about the hole at the center of this donut. And what you and Harlan did that fateful night seems at first glance to fill that hole perfectly. A donut hole in a donut's hole. But we must look a little closer. And when we do, we see the donut hole has a hole in its center. It is not a donut hole, but a smaller donut with its own hole. And our donut is not a hole at all.
But when I heard that they were making a Knives Out sequel, I became nervous. Nothing can ruin a movie more than a sequel. Great movies they have attempted to make sequels for, and the sequels often fall flat. Sometimes the sequels will even bring down the entire franchise. There's a couple of times in history where sequels have been excellent. Star Wars being the prime example, and really Empire Strikes Back is an excellent movie, and Return of the Jedi is not that great of a movie. You look at a movie like Iron Man 2 just doesn't quite do it. Movie sequels tend to be worse than the first one. You kind of pour everything into the first one. Literally, Rian Johnson spent 10 years writing this thing, and then it gets picked up for sequel, and so what? He has 2 years to write another one, probably less time by the time it was greenlit before production. It's just simply not as much time. So I had a lot of apprehension, and it also didn't feel like a movie that there was a sequel, right? The story was completely complete, right? There was no loose ends. Everything was tied up. If you were to make a sequel with those same characters, you'd have to kind of reintroduce things or open things back up, and then it would decrease the integrity of the original one. There wasn't a great way to do it. Eventually, the trailer for this film drops, and I get more concerned for two reasons. One, it's being produced by Netflix. It's not 20th Century Fox or some major studio is making this movie. Netflix is making this movie. And while Netflix can make really, really great movies, and I believe Netflix frequently does make really, really great movies, a Netflix movie inherently is just, well, the implication is that the studio didn't want to run it, and so Netflix is running it. So right off the bat, I'm a little nervous. Secondly, the footage in the trailer for the film did not look great. It just didn't look great. It looked washed out, it looked Netflixified, it looked digitized, it didn't have the same gritty, beautiful realism that the first movie had. And the trailer inherently looked very gimmicky. Until this movie came out on Netflix, and I didn't really hear anything about it. And then last weekend, I decided, hey, I got some free time, so I watched Glass Onion. Let me tell you, Sam, holy cow. Rian Johnson is a phenomenal filmmaker. I had really low expectations. My expectations were on the floor. I was hoping for something decent. I was hoping for something okay. He followed up his original film with a sequel that slaps. It is intriguing and interesting and creative, and it is just a well-crafted story. Plus, the cinematography looks beautiful. I don't know what they did to that trailer. I don't know what LUT they put on it, but when you watch the actual movie, on Netflix, it looks amazing. The cinematography is gorgeous and precise, and it has that same gritty realism that the first one did while being highly stylized. The acting is off the charts, the cinematography looks amazing, and the story is really, really well put together. It is clear from this film that Rian Johnson was so aware of the tropes. He was so aware of what the audience was going to be thinking going into this. Not only because of all of the murder mysteries that we have all seen in our lives, but also because everyone watching this presumably has seen the original Knives Out, right? So they're expecting the twist. They're expecting that piece that, you know, he's going to toss in there that's going to be similar to the original one. He understands those expectations and neatly navigates around them. That's the most beautiful part of this film. As you're watching it, you're trying to get one step ahead of Benoit Blanc or the other characters in the film. And Rian Johnson knows this, and he's well aware of what you're doing, and he is 3 steps ahead of you, looking back and laughing. It's brilliant. It's so well put together. Is it as good as the original? I don't know. I need to watch them side by side, back to back. But does it stack up? Yeah, it's a great movie. It's a really great movie. It's a surprisingly great movie. And what they did is they didn't include a single character from the original film besides the detective. Besides Daniel Craig's character, no one else comes from the original film. It's a completely new cast of characters. And as I was watching interviews with Rian Johnson, he said that they're planning to make more of these. And the idea being that Benoit Blanc, this detective, will be the central character. He will be the only thing that remains consistent across these films. And similar to the novels of Agatha Christie or Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the detective will remain the same, the characters around them will all be different. Instead of it being a sequel, where the story from the first one is being continued in the second one, it is a standalone entity. It's its own story, self-contained in that movie, and I think that's the plan moving forward. You have a character that you've seen before, but this is a completely new story that they're in, and you need no context to understand who they are and why this is relevant. That is the genius of this movie, and that is what I didn't fully expect, and that is what makes it work. If it had been a continuation of the same story from the previous movie, it would have been dry, it wouldn't have had the same charm to it, it would have undercut the original story, but by making it a standalone piece, it works. It completely works. So, if you're looking for something to watch in these holiday seasons when it's cold outside and you want to get nice and warm and cozy, highly recommend Knives Out Glass Onion. I think it is a great movie. Don't get your hopes up too high. Go in with low expectations. Know that I'm a film guy. I love movies. I get excited about things that other people just don't have the same level of excitement for. But I think this is a great movie, and I highly recommend it. Thank you so much for watching, and Sam, I'll see you on Thursday.